Hey, I don't know if you're like me, but going through major life changes, sometimes things that you have no control over, can be pretty darn scary. I'm Dane Campbell. Welcome to Change with Dane. I am a retired Air Force officer and clinical social worker that has been helping people through change for over 30 years. A year and a half ago, retired from the military after 27 years. And it's been a bit of a struggle for me to figure out what retired life is all about and to change something so drastically, which I really didn't have control over. I could have stayed a little bit longer in the military, but as I've told people, everybody takes off the uniform sometime to go on and live their best civilian life after they retire. And I was no different. And maybe I even stayed in the military longer because I was afraid of the transition and afraid of what I would do with myself once I left the military. So it was a big change, something that I knew that I had to go through, and maybe something that there were parts of me that didn't really want to face it. Also, as part of this huge change was a move back to the United States proper. In the military, we call it CONUS. My family had been overseas for 8 years, 2 in Germany, 4 in Japan, and another 2 in Germany. And although that was a fantastic experience, there were certain aspects about living overseas that were a little bit difficult. And part of that was being away from family and sometimes being away from things that were very familiar to my wife and I and other parts of my immediate family. And so it was a little bit of a big transition, packing everything up, moving across an ocean and across the United States back to our home in California, which we finally could inhabit again after being out of it for nearly 10 years. So we left behind all of our connections and the people that we had grown close to, the things we grew used to, having lived in Germany last. And we moved back to California, which was a bit of a challenge in and of itself. Another big change that we maybe could have done differently, but given all of the circumstances, it was again another change that was a bit scary and was something that was kind of thrust upon us that we had to do in the moment. When I left the military, I realized that I wanted to continue to try to help people in some fashion. And so I started a business, and being a small business owner is very, very different than being an officer in the Air Force. And there's a lot of things that I had to learn about, find a way to educate myself, find help with, to learn how to be able to do that and hopefully do it legally and ethically and in a way that I didn't get myself or my clients into trouble in being able to start the business and move forward with that. Again, a ginormous change. All of these things in and of themselves were scary, but if you add them all up together, it was a big deal for me. And I can understand even better now why change is scary for people. Oftentimes, it's a fear of the unknown when you are facing these changes that you sometimes don't have control over, and even things that you choose to change. It becomes an unknown prospect because there are a lot of differences, perhaps, in the things that you have done in the past, or in the way that you have done in the past. And there are things that you might have to learn. There are skills that you might have to acquire that take practice and working through. And I've talked about this in another video, but even the book learning sometimes doesn't go all the way. It's oftentimes the experience of, yes, this is the rule, but how does that really play out in real life? And how does that, principle going to really impact you and your ability to get the job done in your business? Or, how is getting health care from the Veterans Administration different than getting it from the military system? And all of these things were scary and different. And so I certainly understand if you are going through change, or if you are facing a huge change, how scary it can be to walk through that and to be able to trust and feel that you can be successful. Differences make us uncomfortable. And when we have change thrust upon us, it often means that things are going to be different. We are creatures of habit, and comfortability comes to us when we're able to do things in a consistent, similar fashion on a day-to-day, so that we don't have to face the unknown, and we don't have to face undue stress in trying to get the daily tasks of life done. So part of this idea that I'm presenting to you is that I empathize if change for you is scary, whether that's unanticipated change or whether that's change you choose to make for yourself. It's going to be stressful. It's going to make you face life in a different way, and it's going to challenge your ability to learn, to be resilient, and to trust yourself in being able to learn and do and go through things in a different way and hope to feel successful in it. It's okay if life feels uncomfortable sometimes when we go through change. It's meant to do that because that creates stress, and that gives us the energy we need to be able to deal with those changes, to be able to deal with those differences. And that will help us be successful when we are facing change, whether it's intentional or not. I have felt fear with huge changes, and I know many of you have. But just know that if you learn certain principles, and if you learn how to deal with the stress, you learn how to take on this change in hopefully a way that is well thought out, with perseverance and patience, you can be successful and hopefully reduce some of those fears that are so scary when we go through change, when we might have to start over, and when things come into our lives that we're unfamiliar with. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Dane Campbell. The channel is Change with Dane. I appreciate you listening. Please subscribe, please like, and please coming back for more ideas on how you can find success and resilience in going through change. Take care.